99% of recruiters are not sending physical mail to anybody, but everybody loves to open their mailbox and see something that is fun, that isn't a bill that they need to pay. Hey, just wanted to send you a token of appreciation, was thinking about you. Something like that, just so that you break the pattern, you get their attention from being unconventional and different. It's something that we talked about in terms of Slack versus email. There's days and times where Slack is going to be absolutely crazy and it's unmanageable, and you're going to get a better hold of somebody via email, and vice versa.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenley, and welcome back to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today, we've got a great Tactical Tuesday episode ahead of us, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show here. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, while other days we cover things like trending topics. Stop by every Tuesday, like today, for a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something. It's going to help you drive better results in your day-to-day. And occasionally, you get a mic drop episode from Matt where he shares something he's been thinking about within the recruitment space and wants you to know. Now, as a reminder, if you like the content that we share here on the show, make sure that you subscribe for more. All right, today's Tactical Tuesday. Tell me if you have heard any of these quotes or variations of them before. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Change is the only constant. We've always done things this way. So, as you said, no, in business, like these things are said regularly, despite if you go back and listen to them, the very conflicting messages that they send. So one thing I'm sure we can all agree on is that the rate of change in the recruitment space is fast. Changing regulations, the data available to us, technology and AI advancements, and so much more. But then we hear and see recruiters sharing that they don't understand why why results are getting harder to achieve, why candidates aren't responding, so on and so forth. So what do we do about this? What's to blame? How do we get back on the proverbial horse? So here to join us to unpack this one is your favorite Tactical Tuesday co-host, Vivien. Vivien, welcome back.
Hello.
Yeah, so you've been in the recruitment space for a bit, surrounded by, heard a lot of conversations. I almost want to say it's like, because of how many recruiters you talk to, it's almost like your experience is much more because of the absorption of all of the conversation that you're taking on. So you came with a thought on what we should talk about today. What was that?
It was, I've been doing this for the last 10 to 20 years and it's worked really well, but suddenly it stopped working. So I want to blame XYZ. And I started thinking about that a little bit, especially with email deliverability and texting and how recruitment has changed over the years and like kind of like the history of recruitment. It used to be like internal HR through like referrals and things like that. And we used to have like paper ads and people used to like walk in and hand you their resume physically. Then people were like, oh my gosh, email and internet, that's never going to change how we recruit. We're still going to have those big filing cabinets in the office and things like that. And all of a sudden, everybody's fully remote. We have AI doing almost the entire recruitment process at Chipotle. And all of these changes are rapidly happening. And so hearing I've been doing this way for 10 to 20 years and it's gotten to me here. Why is it not working anymore? It must be tool XYZ or you just must be wrong. And it's like, do you remember Blockbuster and what happened to them and how they were making fun of Netflix? So yeah, that's kind of where this is coming from.
Okay. Things change. Times change.
Oh, for
Things
sure.
evolve. Yeah.
Even just regulations, especially the texting one in the UK and in the US and the email changes with Yahoo and Google, they're not coming out of the blue. Those are really just responses to what is happening out there in the market. So when email first came on the scene, it was very low barriers of entry. It was very cheap to send out tons and tons of emails. And so everybody under the sun started doing it, not just recruiters, but anybody in kind of a sales role started doing it because it was so quick and easy. You could do so much and it just was very, very efficient. The problem is that people's inboxes got flooded with stuff that they never wanted, never signed up for. So they kept on sending to spam because they didn't really have a way to unsubscribe until Google and Yahoo said you must have an unsubscribe option at the bottom. Otherwise, we're not even delivering your email, period. And also, if you send too many, if too many people don't open it, don't engage with it, send you to spam, your domain reputation is going to go to the crapper and nobody's ever going to see your email. And suddenly open rates have dropped. People are not responding to outreach anymore. And recruiters are like, this is my livelihood. I am not making money anymore. People are not responding to me. And so they're angry about it, rightfully so. And suddenly they start looking at things and are like, oh, it must be this thing. Oh, it must be that thing. It cannot be my approach because I have 10, 20 years of track record that this worked really well. Suddenly it's not a thing anymore. It must be the tool. It must be something that is out of my control, because recruiters are very much taught to be consistent in numbers and kind of like rules. If you call 100 people, you're going to have 3 to submit or something like that. The problem with that is that because the market has gotten so saturated with all this content and junk, people are overwhelmed. Most people will tell you they're not clicking on every single email, opening it and reading it. They're scanning their inbox for what's important. They look at that and then they just select all and delete, or other people just have 500,000 unread emails in their inbox, which gives me a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, even when you want some of those emails, like for example, I subscribe to a handful of different newsletters that I learned from. I have a filter in place so that it puts it into a folder so it doesn't clog up my inbox. I'm like, I'm going to go back and read them. I looked this morning, I think I've got like 140 emails in that folder. And to your point, at this point, I don't have the time to read it. So I'm going to go scan. I'm going to pick the ones that I want. And the rest I'm just going to mark as read. I'm going to archive anything else. But what you were saying, people, I've done this 10 to 20 years, immediately threw me back. Do you remember AOL? And when you would log in and you would just hear first thing, you've got mail, and how excited you would get. We used to read every single email. We love that notification. Can you imagine that nowadays? If you had that voice that would quickly become probably haunting, you would never want to hear it again. Every time you got an email, every time you get a spam, you'd be like, I'm going to blow my brains out if I have to hear this thing say, you've got mail one more time, because of the volume, like you said. So it's channels change, mediums change, playbooks change, all of that has to be factored in. It's like, well, yeah, it works before, but it was novel, it was different, people embraced it. What is the current reception of that same thing today? And if that's different than it was then that's where we need to rethink. Is it you? Is it the tool? Is it how it's being executed upon? Like, that's all. You can't expect that things are always going to continue as they have been.
yeah, and something that a lot of people don't really think about is that everything that used to come via physical mail has now moved into the inbox. So it's bills, it's reminders to pay your taxes, to register your car, it's your shopping notifications, it's your newsletters, it's random stuff you've forgotten you signed up for, or you could have sworn you unsubscribed 50 million times and you keep getting it. It's random salespeople popping in and out of your inbox with you should work with me because I'm the best kind of stuff, or I hope this email finds you well. And little things like that, where recruiters are not competing against other recruiters in people's inboxes. They are competing with everything else. And so nowadays, I think it actually flipped. It's you're getting tons and tons of emails, but you don't really get like the fun mail anymore. Nobody's sending you a letter to be like, hey, just wanted to check in. It's either a text or they send you an email with a link to a cloud with a bunch of pictures, or they just post their stuff on social media somewhere. So the world has changed in the last 20 years. I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't have iPhones just yet. And if you think about that, we had flip phones like the Motorola Razr and things like that. And so if you were doing the same stuff back in the Motorola Razr times, it's time to change. Don't be a Blockbuster recruiter. Be a Netflix recruiter.
Oh my God, that cracks me up. Yeah. My mind immediately just takes me throwback to my Nokia brick phone day, just playing Snake. But even then, it was like the only ways that you would have been able to reach me would have been call. It wasn't even like SMS. It was like MMS texting, SMS, but it was so slow and everything else. Fax isn't going to make a comeback. Don't quote me on that, but I'm 99.9% sure, just due to the lack of fax machines that anyone has anymore, that's probably going to stay off. Calling on person, though, just showing up. I know we're remote and everything else, but like you said, direct mail, how people are enjoying getting that again. I think there are opportunities where what's old is new, what's new will become old. It's, everything comes in cycles and everything else. So yeah, we've talked about email a little bit. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think, I know every recruiter always say, like, what's the best recruitment tactic? What's the best recruitment tool? Everyone's always like, phone. How do you still feel about that one?
Phone is great. Phone, because nobody calls anymore, especially my generation. I don't want to get phone calls. I will not pick them up. But it's actually a really great way to get a hold of hiring managers when you're doing business development, just because that's the only good way of getting a hold of them. They're getting so many work emails, so many people are reaching out to them with sales related stuff of how they can help them. And the easiest way to kind of get in touch with them is by calling them. And I have this from hiring managers from some of our customers that are in-house recruiters. So I know it works. They told me it works. That's how recruiters got a hold of them, and were able to talk to them and get an opportunity to work with them on some of the recs that they couldn't fill themselves just because it was taking too long. It was too complicated to niche, and they just wanted to outsource that to someone that is in that space and knows how to get a hold of these people. So that works really well. And another one that you can try is send physical mail into the office. Granted, a lot of people are fully remote, so that might actually be hit or miss. Nobody might ever actually see it, but it's still worth a try. It's fairly low cost to do it, and it's very unconventional. 99% of recruiters, almost 100, I would say, are not sending physical mail to anybody, but everybody loves to open their mailbox and see something that is fun, that isn't a bill that they need to pay or anything like that. It's just like a fun little mail of like, hey, just wanted to send you a token of appreciation, was thinking about you, or something like that, just so that you break the pattern, you get their attention from being unconventional and different. And it's something that we talked about in terms of Slack versus email. There's days and times where Slack is going to be absolutely crazy and it's unmanageable, and you're going to get a better hold of somebody via email, and vice versa. And so you have to think about where's the market currently in terms of recruiting. They're sending a lot of emails, they're sending a lot of in-mails. And so how can you stand out? You can stand out by calling, you can stand out by sending physical mail, and you can stand out by writing better content than 99% of recruiters. Because I work with so many of them, and everybody is like, hey, what can I do to get better deliverability? What can I do to get better response rates? And when I look at all of their emails, they're all the same variation of great opportunity, or this job is for you, or something like that. Like, it's very predictable, and there's very minor changes in what every recruiter does. And if you are in an office and you want to kind of like take a look at and like talk to your coworkers, hey, how are you doing outreach? Most of the time it's going to be the same exact thing as you, with like slight variations for their personality, their tone, and how they write. And this is where it's getting really predictable, and people don't have a good reason why they should open your email versus the other 10 recruiters that have emailed them pretty much something very, very similar. And there's no distinction between any of those 10 emails that they have received. And so you want to stand out a little bit and offer something. And this is why I love the dad joke and the subject line. It's something that prompts people to open. You give them something where they're more likely to actually give back to you by responding to you and saying, not interested for XYZ reasons, but I want to hear about this kind of role. And so it's, especially with content like social media, TikTok, YouTube, the quality of content has gone up significantly. And so people have a different expectation for the content that they receive. So a simple, stereotypical email that they see a million times over their lifetime is just not going to cut it, unfortunately. You have to get a little bit more creative and unconventional. If that's just not your personality type, no worries. Leverage AI for that. And if this is something where you want to have a little bit of fun, give it a try. Do A/B testing. See what actually works, what resonates with your target audience, because it is a little bit about personal branding, where the way that you present yourself, it has to line up with who you are, and it has to stand out and be different from other recruiters. But even if you are a different recruiter from the rest of them, if you don't show that you are different, nobody's going to know.
Yeah. I feel like, don't need to say this, but I'm going to say this. Recruiters are pattern matching machines. Like, they are so, like, this is what makes them so good at sourcing, right? Put yourself on the flip side of this. If you're sending an email with a near identical subject line that the candidate's getting from multiple other recruiters, same copy within it, they're going to pattern match that as just someone who's just shipping it in. A recruiter who's like, oh, well, that's a dime a dozen recruiter. Like, they don't care that much about me. And this clearly isn't written for me. They're just trying to do a numbers game. So that represents you in one way. So that's one thing that you need to think about with, it's not just enough to leverage the medium of email, but how are you doing it? Like you said, like the quality of the content and everything else. One other one that's interesting to me, and I've been really pushing our BDRs on this, and it's working well, is we were talking about phone. Our generation, like, we don't answer the phone, right? But voicemails are an incredibly underrated thing to use. I'm not going to answer. If you're not a saved number in my phone and you're not the vet calling me to tell me, like, when I know I'm waiting on a call from them or something else with my local area code, I'm going to screen it. It's going to go to voicemail. I don't have a choice. That's fine. Go leave a voicemail. 95% of calls don't leave voicemails at all. So guess who's not calling them back? This guy, 0% chance. When they leave a voicemail, though, the beautiful thing is I'm probably not going to listen to it, but on iPhones, the text voice to text. So I'm going to quickly scan it and see, like, who is it? What's it about? If it's a good voicemail, if it's something of interest, I will absolutely call them back. But you just haven't earned that first answer because I've been burned enough by Zoom info, sharing my number. People hit me with bad cold pitches. So to your point, like, it's not always a channel, but how are you using it? And really just thinking from the psychological side of it is how can you best leverage the medium to get the outcome you want, especially when you could do it differently than what so many other people aren't doing.
Yeah. And you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of how are you dealing with all those emails? How are you, when an unknown number calls you, what do you do? So it's kind of like taking a step back and looking at how do you deal with these things so that when you are the one to send it, how do you want people to treat it? So you have to kind of like flip it. And the way that I tell users to do this is take a look at your inbox. Like, how do you decide why you're opening this email? Is it because you know the sender? Is it because of the subject line? Is it because of that little preview of the first line? Or do you literally open every single email? Nobody opens every single email. There's way too many in our inboxes. We're exhausted from reading all the different content across Slack, across emails, across text messages. I think we read the most as a generation as a whole. Like the most amount of words, we are the biggest readers just because it's everywhere and it's just such a big part. We don't call anymore. Everything is in writing. I think Mark Cuban said, I'm never doing emails, I'm never doing meetings, send me an email instead, kind of a thing. And so there's so much reading that is happening. You have to stand out otherwise. And the way to do this is, how are you reacting to emails? How do you choose to open one or not? And what makes you decide to actually open it? Apply that to yourself and pretend like you are receiving your own emails. Would you want to actually open them if they landed in your inbox, if you didn't know that they were from you, if they were from the stranger? Most likely the answer is no. And the same thing goes for phone calls. I need to see the voicemail. If nobody's leaving me a voicemail, I have no reason to call you back. So, and my voicemail is empty. So there is space. I know that because I keep deleting voicemails just because I like to have I have a zero inbox approach, and that's for everything, zero notifications, zero red bubbles. And I know that not everybody is like that, but I know my aunt, she works in the bank. She's very high up. So she gets a lot of recruiter calls. And she said, you have to text me. If you don't text me, I'm not getting back to you. You can leave me a voicemail. I can even see that you've called me and left a voicemail. I'm not looking at that because people are leaving me tons of voicemails. Nobody is texting me though. So that's a really interesting one. Problem with that one is obviously we have A2P, so that's something to keep in mind. In general, the best advice that I have is just put yourself in your recipient's shoes by just kind of looking at your own habits. It's hard to kind of be like, what would I do with this email if I was the candidate? But do it more so in terms of, I get this stuff all the time. How do I screen it? How do I vet it? What gets past my screening mechanisms for me to actually click or call back? And then you can feed those examples to ChatGPT and be like, this is what gets me to open my emails. This is what gets me to call back. Like, this is the type of voicemail. Can you flip this and make this like my recruiter version for this job that I have? And there you go.
And maybe this could be a potential next episode for us. If you're unsure, 1, test. 2, go pull your last 10 candidates you've talked to, ask them how, like, what works for them, getting in touch with candidates in that specific industry for that specific role. Biz dev opportunities, the hiring managers, same type of question. So I don't know, maybe that's a future episode for us, how to just do customer candidate interviews for improving your outreach methods. So stay tuned. Who knows? Might or might not become a thing.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. Oh, yeah. All right, Viv. Well, anything else before we wrap this one?
Don't be a Blockbuster recruiter. Be a Netflix recruiter.
I love it. I love it. Perfect. All right. Well, as we wrap, Becoming a Hiring Machine is a production of Loxo. If you like this episode, but you're not sure where to go next, we have a link to a similar one. You can find that in the description of your favorite podcast streaming platform, as well as on our website. We do have full video episodes available on YouTube. If you ever have questions, send them our way, podcast@loxo.co. And lastly, if you did enjoy this episode, please make sure that you leave us a quick rating in your podcast streaming platform. It takes you 3 seconds, but it's going to help other recruiters like you to find us. So, all right, everyone, that's the show. That was a great Tactical Tuesday with Vivien. Until next time, bye, y'all.